There's been another incident on an LA Metro bus where somebody's been stabbed. And no, this is not like Groundhog Day where you think the same thing is happening over and over again. 4 days ago, there was a woman who died after being stabbed in the throat by a transient at a Studio City metro station. In the intervening time, there's been a news crew that's covered all the other non-fatal stabbings, and then their crew is actually attacked by a transient on the street. And it leaves me thinking, which one upsets me more? Is it the fact that failed progressive policies have allowed homeless people with mental illness to remain on the streets while $24 billion and counting are wasted, and the problem only gets worse? Or is it more upsetting at the fact that these failed progressive politicians are passing laws to make us take these public transit systems, which are effectively mobile mental institutions, mobile homeless shelters and mental institutions? So if I had my druthers, we would really have to prioritize this in order of importance. So number one, treat the homeless people, get the homeless people off the street, treat their mental illness, acknowledge that it's not just a housing problem, get these people diagnosed, get them into institutions, get them better, so that the transit system isn't a mobile homeless shelter. And then if you want us to buy into your grand climate plan where we're taking public transit, then you first clean up the transit so that an average person like me says, okay, I'm not going to take my car. I'm not going to risk my life either. I'm going to take this metro, which is efficient, effective, clean, and safe. So don't put the cart before the horse. First, fix the homeless problem. Then people will naturally come to a public transit system that isn't a mobile homeless shelter. So how would we clean up the homeless problem? How would I clean up the homeless problem? Again, you need to separate it into the people who have such paralyzing mental illness like bipolar disorder, like schizophrenia, who are a danger to themselves because they don't know that they're ill. And they're also a danger to others, as we've seen with these subway attacks, with these bus attacks. So you take these individuals, open up the federal institutions that were closed down. Yes, we know that there were abuses. We know that people were beat. We've learned from our mistakes in the past. Reopen those mental institutions, get them staffed, get these patients in there, get them better, get them treated. And then once they are better, then you can release them back to their home neighborhoods where they can follow up in outpatient settings. But not all of these transients are necessarily suffering from mental health like schizophrenia or bipolar. They might just be so high on drugs that they don't know what they're doing. There was a man who was recently executed, forget, maybe in Tennessee, where he killed his cousin, her husband, and a child because he was in a meth rage. And when he came down from it, he knew exactly what he had done and he felt remorse. So a lot of these people are suffering from drug addiction. Get them into sober living. And sober living doesn't mean just build a house, put the person there and hope they get better. No, this is why our failed progressive politicians have wasted $24 billion of our own money and still counting and saying, oh, we need to build more homeless housing. No, the housing that exists needs to be staffed with addiction specialists, with counselors, with social workers, with case managers. You need to seal the border where all these drugs are coming in. You need to make it not illegal to consume the drugs because, yes, that would criminalize somebody who actually has a health condition, drug addiction, and putting them in a jail because you criminalized it, that's not going to fix their drug addiction. What you do is you criminalize, you catch, you prosecute the drug dealer. Are you listening, George Gascon? You actually prosecute the person who is enabling these people and giving them their drugs. Where are the drugs coming from? They're coming through the southern border. They're coming through ports of entry like Port of Long Beach, Port of LA, from China. We know this. So you seal up your border, prevent unknown people carrying unknown contents from coming in, be more diligent with your ports of entry where the drugs are coming in, because you can't expect these people to stay sober if there is a daily temptation of drug use staring them right in the face. How are you going to get these people to stay sober? Family support, it's the number one thing. 40% of California homeless are not from within the state, meaning that their support system is from out of state. That's usually what happens, right? Their families kick them out because they're dealing with drug addiction. Perhaps they are abusing drugs because they have some unaddressed, undiagnosed family trauma. But this is why medical studies have shown that group counseling, group meaning the person with their family, is quite effective in finding those traumas, addressing the drug abuse, making sure these people stay sober, and having their family keep them honest. But again, you can't expect them to stay sober if drugs are pouring in from out of the country, giving these people a daily temptation to fall off the wagon. So again, first, the people who are paralyzed with mental illness, get them into institutions. If they need medications, get them medicated, get them counseling, make them better so they can be then discharged back to their home communities. The people who have drug addiction, get them reunited with their families, get them a social support network, and remove the daily temptation of drug use. Then, when you have cleaned up the streets, there are no more homeless people camping on the sidewalks, camping on the bus stops, sleeping in the metro buses or sleeping in the subway cars because that's the only place they have. Then an average person with gainful employment might start riding your public transit network. Karen Bass just extended a program that allows free metro ridership to kids, teens, to allow them to get back and forth from school. Would you, as a parent, allow your child to ride a dangerous subway that has been shown to be a threat to life and limb? No, you wouldn't do that. But here we are, our mayor, effectively leading children into the lion's den, into a situation so dangerous that even one of our county supervisors, Catherine Barger, who's on the LA Metro Board, says, I do not feel comfortable getting on a metro bus or a metro train by myself. You're putting the cart before the horse. Don't tell people or give them incentives to ride a system that is clearly flawed. Clearly flawed because of the consequences of your policies, of not acknowledging and addressing mental illness and drug use, of not acknowledging and addressing crime and allowing that crime to go unpunished. So it's not one single person like Karen Bass, it's multiple people. You have the Karen Basses as mayor, you have the Nithya Ramans, you have the George Gascons who espouse these failed regressive progressive ideas, who allow these failed policies to fester, to deteriorate California. This is not the Golden State anymore, this is a rusted brown. Somebody asked me, how do you reconcile these people's due process, their constitutional rights of putting them in institutions? Well, in medicine, there's something called capacity. If somebody has capacity, they're able to describe to you what is wrong. They're able to describe to you what the treatment is, and they are able to describe to you the consequences of getting treatment or not getting treatment, including possibly getting worse and dying. So somebody who's able to say that has capacity, and you say, okay, you choose not to have, for example, chemotherapy for your cancer. It's not what I would have chosen for myself, but you have capacity. That is your decision making. Sure, that is your decision. Somebody who lacks capacity, somebody who is obviously mentally ill or at the time so high on drugs that they can't tell up from down or right from wrong. And actually, we're finding more that even somebody who doesn't have any mental illness, if they continue to do drugs, they will develop brain damage from the continued drug use that then gives them an irreversible mental illness. So if somebody lacks capacity, then you have mental grounds to put them in an institution. Not that you're jailing them because they're not criminal, but because they lack capacity, they can be a danger to themselves. They can be a danger to others. So you can put somebody in an institution without this actually is due process. It's the due process of establishing, do they have medical capacity or not? If they don't have it, because you go through a series of questions, then they don't have it. That is their due process. So then you can put them in an institution. So it is possible. It is possible, but people say, oh, you shouldn't criminalize these people for sleeping on the streets. No, I'm not going to criminalize them for sleeping on the streets. I'm going to say that they don't know any better, either because of inherent mental illness that prevents them from knowing right from wrong, and that can be treated either with medications, counseling, what have you, or that person has continued drug addiction, and those substances being on board make that person lack capacity at that moment. And so what you do is you say, okay, we are going to make sure that you stay sober. And how do we ensure sobriety? The things that I talked about, making sure that they are reunited with their families in their home states for support, making sure that the availability of drugs is not so easy that they have a daily temptation to fall off the wagon. That is how you reconcile somebody's constitutional rights with the due processes of medical capacity. I, as a physician, am uniquely positioned to be able to speak to that and to solve these unsolvable problems or these long-lasting problems that have been perpetuated. We are not progressing, we are regressing, but they've been perpetuated despite $24 billion and counting of our California taxpayer money that has been wasted so far. Again, thank you for listening. I am Dr. Alex Balekian here in Glendale, running for Congress to fill Adam Schiff's vacant seat. Election is November 2024. We just had our inaugural conversation with the community in Tahunga. We had a great turnout. A lot of people came, asked questions, got things off their chest about the daily problems that are affecting them. We have another conversation in the community coming up. Save the date, May 16 at 6:30 p.m. in West Hollywood. We will give you the location details as it gets closer, but please do save the date, May 16 at 6:30 p.m. in West Hollywood. Come, please attend, ask your questions, let us develop solutions together. One solution for Glendale may not be the same solution for Tahunga, may not be the same solution for West Hollywood. We all suffer from the same problems, but the local factors, the local community, the different culture will affect how we fine-tune and implement a lot of these solutions. So again, thanks for listening. Alex Balekian, MD, running for Congress. I will see you soon.